Okay, we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Audacity for breakfast. We are so happy to be here. Yes, literally, we're so happy to be here again. We're so happy to be doing this again. And we are excited because today we are going to be having our very first guest on the show tonight. We're experiencing some technical challenges, but we are going to keep forging on as we go ahead today. So while we wait for our guests to rejoin us, hi Senenge, how's it going?
Hello, the money mechanics. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Senenga. Thank you again for joining us for another live experience of Audacity for breakfast. And part of what I like about what we're doing with this experience is that we're coming to you and we're bringing our full selves very authentically. And I was commenting to Christine earlier because this is the first time she's joining the world with light. That's incredible. We can now we can now truly see Christine the light, and we can see how light shines in her space and really emanates. But then also, part of why we have to make a little bit of a time adjustment this week is that, when you're living audaciously, life happens and you engage with it. So today I had a
Mhm.
full day retreat with my team from the office. And in fact, I'm coming to you from right now live. I'm out in the world. I'm literally outside of a bathroom that's outside of the meeting room where I spent the last 8 hours with my team doing a full day retreat
Training.
workshop where we're, yes, where we're getting together ideas. It's a summertime here, and so we're doing some planning for the next academic year. So we spent the year doing, or the day doing that. But at the end of that day for me, I get to start my day with you fine folks. And so
Amazing.
we're doing that, and life doesn't stop. And today, as Christine was saying, we are very, very privileged to be joined by a very special guest. I give the floor back to my colleagues.
All right. Thank you so much, Senenge. Thank you so much for that lively introduction. So today we have a very special guest, and she's my girl. So I'm going to do the introduction. Today we have the Peace Dukas, as she is famously called, and she is a woman that is changing politics. If our banner attracted you, this is the woman behind that entire thing. She's a woman in politics and she's my dearest friend. We've known each other from high school and I've literally watched her evolve into the woman that she is today. She is a politician, yes, amongst many other things. She's an entrepreneur, but today she is being here as a politician. And today she's going to be telling us about how she's an audacious woman changing the narrative in the political space in Nigeria. So, my darling friend, thank you, Peace, for joining us. Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself? I'm hoping that the network has allowed me finish my introduction. Senenga, did you catch that? Her
I
network has
did
pushed her
catch the
out.
introduction. Yes, it looks like Peace will have to rejoin us. And
She'll
and
rejoin us.
while
That's fine.
yes,
But while
yes,
she rejoins us, we're going to be talking today about um audacity as a woman in the political space in Nigeria. There's a gross underrepresentation in the political space in Nigeria. Not to talk about the fact that there's a lot of, will I call it apathy or fear, or just there's just a lot of misconception about women in politics. We don't have a lot of women in politics here in Nigeria. Um, and Peace has been on a mission, to make a difference. And one of the things that has really endeared me about the work that she does is the fact that she has been big on political education, political awareness. I know she does a lot of work with an organization called the Electoral College. Very funny enough was I was just trying to think about how this whole political journey started for her, and I remember that I think it was a couple of years ago. Now I can't remember how many years ago, but I had found out about the electoral college at at a church event. We're having a youth week meeting, and we were talking, zoning in on the topic of, Christians in the political sphere. And the founder of the Electoral College had joined us for a session, and that piqued my interest, and I remember joining one of their politeracy trainings, and I had shared it, and Peace had seen it, and she jumped on it, and she joined the politeracy, training. And I remember that was just where it was like a spark, really, and she just went all out. Now she works also with the Electoral College as well. And if you visit her pages, especially on Facebook, she's very huge on political education, making voters understand, what really goes on, which I think a lot of us don't really know. We just go to the polls and we just cast our votes for the most popular person, or the person that our neighbor says they are voting, or that they told us to vote, at school. And I think that for a woman to, dare to not just be a politician, but also to be an educator in this space, it takes a lot of audacity. So tonight, that is where our conversation would be revolving around tonight. So, Senenge, I would like to know your thoughts about what Peace does. I saw that you commented on one of her videos earlier today, and I'd like to
Ah,
hear more
so
about that.
so you have been
Why would
spending some time online, I see. Yes,
Yes.
I did comment. I did comment on one of her videos, and before I
Mhm.
get there, you used a term that was very interesting. I like you. You said politeracy,
Yeah.
it's a combination of words. I think I get the meaning there, but if you will expand on that a little bit, what do you mean by politeracy? You said you went to some politeracy experiences.
Mhm. Okay,
I-
so essentially, politeracy comes from the two words politics and literacy, right? And we know
mhm,
that it's basically a combination of politics and literacy. And the idea of the politeracy program was to make students or participants more knowledgeable about politics and what
mhm.
is involved. And funny enough, it was not just from the politician perspective, in the sense that they were not just saying, oh, come and join this program because you want to be a politician, but even as a citizen, right? How knowledgeable are you about the political space, right? Do you know what rights you have as a citizen? Do you know
Mhm.
the responsibilities of your leaders that you have elected into offices? And that is such an important and unique position to be in, because most times we are unable to really hold our leaders accountable because we actually don't even know what we're supposed to expect from them, you know.
Yes.
So that's what the politeracy program, basically is about. And that's what the electoral college was focusing on. I'm so sorry, I can see you shaking your head. Can you hear us? We can see you. Please, can you hear
Peace.
us? Yes, she was shaking her head. Now she's
Yes.
frozen.
Oh, yep. It
I
looks
think
like
her
that's
network
okay.
is really,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
continuing to work with it. The network, I mean, as it goes, we'll deal with these things. You had
Yeah.
asked me the question. Oh, and I commented on one of her videos, and in the
Yeah.
video, the video was asking about. I remember the video was asking. She was making a commentary on people who leave one party to join another party, and whether how do you support that, or what are your feelings around that, and so on. And I thought it was an interesting video. I thought it offered some interesting perspectives. um, and the comment that made, as I recall it, was about my own positioning. Now, I should say that I myself, when it comes to politics, um, first, let me remind everybody that I'm an academic. I'm an
Yeah.
academic. And so I say that sometimes maybe that's almost my shield, but also that's my reality. And so I tend to
Mhm.
think about things and engage in things, or engage with things from a very kind of, thoughtful, just more thoughtful almost than feeling or impassioned. And I say all of
Yeah.
that because politics, I don't get very involved. I am very interested. I follow
Mm.
politics from an academic perspective. But then people
Yeah.
ask me sometimes, well, don't you care? I say, I don't really care. I'm interested. It's not that I don't care. It's just, the politicking The game
Mm,
of politics, I'm not
mhm,
interested in. And so the
mm,
comment that I made on Peace's page was, whether to that question of whether, when somebody leaves a party, do you still support them, or have they abandoned it was a question, right? Like, have they abandoned kind of their morals if they switch from one party to another? And my
mhm,
position and my thought, my thinking on that kind of question is really that, for me, if you're a public servant or a servant leader, your
mhm,
duty is to the people, or to,
mhm,
society, more than it
mhm,
is to frankly, to any personal conviction, to any party, or even any political process. This is
mhm,
my own opinion. And so
mhm,
I think that politics is interesting. I think that
mhm,
politics is interesting from an academic perspective.
mhm,
I think engaging in it is tricky, and and that's a space where it's not always comfortable for me, how to find a way to engage in politics in a way to,
mhm.
because me, I like to be nice. And if I'm not
I
going to be
understand.
nice, if I'm not going to be nice, I also like to be fully not nice. You understand? And so me, I never fight with anybody with the idea that
Mhm.
when we're done fighting, we're going to be friends. No,
Exactly.
if I ever fight with you, I don't like to fight anybody. But if I have
Mm,
a rule that if I ever fight anybody, I'm only ever fighting them once.
and
We're
that's
never
it.
going to fight again. Because by the
Again,
time we are finished, you will never want to fight with me
you
again.
never want to fight. You
No.
see.
Either because it wasn't a fun experience, or it's just, no, me, I'm not fighting you to be nice. So this
Mm,
is where I don't, like, no. And now I engage in disagreements and in
mhm,
argumentation. Absolutely. That's
mhm,
an academic endeavor. I think that's very important. But sometimes people get so close to something. I have found, I should say, that sometimes people get so close to something that when they start defending it, then they start attacking and fighting. And
mm.
me, I've trained, though. So if you fight me, no, I will fight you. I
I'll
don't
fight
like
you
to
back.
fight. Uh-huh, you see. So,
All right, Peace is
yes,
back. Peace, can you hear us? We can see you.
yes.
Okay, you're muted. Please let her network work.
Let's try something else.
I was I was gonna ask if probably she would. Peace, can you hear us? We can see you moving. If the video is taking a lot of her bandwidth, whether she would end up just sticking with audio. That's another thing I was going to suggest.
Try that. I'm going to comment on one of the comments in the chat. Somebody made a comment about many times people feel that they don't belong in the political
To the
space.
yeah, you can go
Yeah.
ahead.
And I think that
Let
that's a
me
great
go
comment.
ahead.
Um,
Yeah,
okay, Peace can't see oh, she's going to be circling back into the conversation. The question, many
yeah.
times people feel like they don't belong in the political space. And I'll be honest about my own experience. I don't always feel like I belong in the political space. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that stems from what I said earlier, because I find that so many people in political spaces want to fight about the thing that they care about. And
Yes.
that it's that fighting that for me is a challenge. If you and
Mm,
I both live in a place, in a society, and we both have the goal to wanting to see our society be better,
mm-hmm.
then we may have different ideas behind how to make the society be better. But if both of us share the same goal of wanting the society to be better, then in my opinion, we shouldn't need to fight. Let's
Mm-hmm.
disagree all day long as we keep
Mm-hmm.
walking forward towards that better
Mm-hmm.
society. But many times I find that people will stop at fight. If you stop at
Mm,
fight, you're not walking forward.
mm-hmm.
That's part also why, what was the question again? How many times that people feel they don't belong in yeah, I feel I don't belong in the political space because I don't want to stop and fight with you about politics. Let
Mm,
us disagree and keep moving forward. If we both
mm-hmm.
have, we want to build something, okay, let's keep
Mm-hmm.
building towards that thing. Now, we may not agree on all of the components, but if we agree that we're trying to let's continue to move forward, even if it's slowly. let's continue to move
Mm,
forward and discuss.
mm-hmm,
But if we're going to fight, we stop and fight. And then when we stop and fight, we're not moving forward. So
mm.
this thing about people not feeling like they don't belong in the political space, I feel that many times the political spaces are either inviting you to a fight,
Mm-hmm.
or or trying to beat you down so that you will join what I
You will
think.
join? Yes.
Yeah. And for me,
Mm,
I'd rather let's allow the space that let's all have ideas, because some of the last time we were using the analogy of food, right? And sometimes,
yeah.
you need a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this to have a
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
proper meal. But if you
Yeah.
only come with swallow but no soup, how good can it be?
How good can it be? I
Uh,
think that you've raised something like very important, right? The fact that I feel like because we're human beings, we're always going to disagree, right? And it's okay to disagree. We don't always have to agree, really. But when it moves from being a disagreement to literally being like two people fighting in a ring, I think that's where the problem is. I also think that because people are, and I mean, like, people could disagree with me on this, but I think that, people in the political space could be a little too power hungry. And because of that, they go to, let's say, very extreme extents, right? Just to wield that power, right? And I forget, you're the academic here, but there's a very famous thing where the famous quote that says, is it absolute power corrupts absolutely, or something like that?
yes, that's the quote.
Um,
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yes, there's that as well. I also think that, especially in a country like Nigeria, where we have seen the, let's say, the gross under, how do I even, the gross underrepresentation of our leaders, people have just gotten very discouraged when it comes to politics in Nigeria, right? So, say, for example, in a couple of months' time, in 2027, elections are coming, and I've had to speak to a number of people about whether they're going to vote. And to be very honest, there's a lot of voter apathy, because people are like, we go to vote, but like it's not making any sense. And to be very honest, I am at that stage as well, right? Because of my experience during the last elections. I spent over 48 hours at my polling unit. I didn't end up getting a chance to vote. I it was just, and I think in the end, if I don't know if it was that particular election, but there was one particular election where they even cancelled the entire votes from my polling unit. And so I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I literally went with a mat and a pillow to go and stay at my polling unit because I was so determined to vote.
I
But
remember watching the videos of you at that unit. Yeah.
exactly. So you're just like, is this worth it? Is it worth it, really? Peace is back. Let's see. Peace, can you hear us? She's out.
The thing I want to say though is actually as we see peace struggling with this and as we're having this conversation, I mean, I feel that all of these things are connected. And the comment that you just made about going to your polling station and taking a mat and sleeping there and so on, and what we're seeing now for the past 30 minutes of peace struggling to get in and out and in and out and in and out. It's something that I said to you earlier, and we've talked about a number of times. And I think it's
Mhm.
very important to highlight for our listeners the audacity of continuing to be tenacious in a context like Nigeria.
Yep.
It's so it's so incredible to me and so fulfilling to me,
Mm.
one, that we're able to do this. As we commented earlier, this is the first time that we're bringing you to the people with light, you know and this is not the first time that you're coming to the people. So despite not
Mm.
having light, you persevere. Look at how much
Yeah.
peace is struggling to continue
To
to struggle
join,
to be a part
yes.
of this
To be
conversation.
a part of
Like,
this conversation.
so as we think about politics in the Nigerian context and the hope or the apathy that folks have had from previous experiences, I do think it's important to think about engagement and how we engage. And then you mentioned the word power. And power, I think, is a very fascinating thing, because also there are many times that I think that largely power gets misunderstood, in my opinion.
Mm.
Let me pause
Mm.
though, because peace, if you've got a hot mic, you should have the
Please,
floor.
can you hear us? Please tell me you can hear us.
I
Can
can
you
hear you
hear us?
now. I can hear
Okay,
you
okay.
now.
Hey, don't go, don't go, don't
What a
go,
better
don't
time
go,
to experience this.
don't go. Okay.
In
Oh my
fact,
God.
I'm still
since
here.
since I don't know you at all, the one thing I want to say is that Peace. I was just telling Christine and telling our listeners how much I really admire your tenacity, your perseverance, and I really
Yeah.
do think and I hope that what you've experienced over the past 30 minutes is really this is almost a live manifestation of what I have taken as part of your mission to be present, to be engaged, to make the voices be heard, and to let people
Yeah.
know that they have some agency in this. It's wonderful to
Mhm.
meet you. Thank you so much for joining us today and share some words with the people.
Yeah, and I hope her network lets her stay because now she's frozen. My goodness. It's crazy, but we'll keep trying. I know
I knew that
she's
was a
gonna
risk as
join
soon as I
us.
started talking. I was like, no, don't
Yes.
talk. Oh,
So
shoot.
let's wait and see. I think we can keep trying, okay? We still have people who are waiting and viewing. So
The
it
one thing
means that there are people who want to listen to her. So we're gonna keep
yes.
waiting.
But also, I mean, since we are talking about peace, and as we're looking for peace to join, you referenced a video. I did see Peace's video on Facebook, and I went out and I have a lot of admire. I don't know Peace, and I've engaged with some of her content online, and I have a lot of admiration for the messaging in the content, for the
Mhm.
invitations in the content, for the intentionality behind inviting people to consider and to think about their role in the electoral process in
Mm,
politics. Good. There are
mm,
comments in there. We're getting comments in the chat and so on about power. And there was a point I wanted to make about power. Um,
mhm,
as peace struggles to come in and out. I gave a talk last month or so on around power because conceptually, this is the thing I've been thinking about. And I think that unfortunately, I do think that there's a disconnect between the perception of power and true power. So many people, we see many people in positions of authority, so-called leaders who believe power is like this. Now, some of
mm.
that maybe comes from they make a muscle, and so then they think,
Yeah.
okay, power lives here. And so that this is how they rule or they lead with a hand like this. We call it the iron
Mm.
fist almost.
The area fish.
And
Huh.
and this is supposed to symbolize strength or power. And that's a problem for me because when I make a fist, Christy, make a fist.
My
Okay,
tiny face.
what can you do with that fist?
Punch you in the
You can
face.
punch something, you can,
Yes.
but many, if not all of the things that we can do with the fist are destructive things.
Hmm.
They're not building things. So
Hmm.
then I wonder, well, there's a power in destroying things, but is there more of a power in building than destroying? So when
Hmm.
I talk to people about power or leadership, I use this image as the way that many people conceptualize power. And I challenge it to say, what if instead of leading like this, we lead like this?
Hmm.
With the open hand. Now, if we
Hmm.
think about, okay, if I'm in a position of leadership and this is how I lead, I can't bring anybody with me. I can't lift anybody up. I can't build with this tool.
Hmm.
But if I lead like this, then, okay, people, come with me. Let's go do this. Let's go and
Yeah.
work on that project and on that project. Let us all be here and let's share the power. So this,
Hmm.
for me, is where true power lives, in the open hand rather than the closed fist.
Hmm. Thank you for that analogy. I will get back to that analogy later. Peace has joined us again, and I'd like her to speak.
Hmm.
Peace, can you tell us what Audacity feels like to you as we struggle the network? Please let your network work for us. Can you talk to us about Audacity? What does Audacity mean to you?
First of all, okay, I would love to apologize for my network, right? I would love to
Don't
apologize
worry.
on behalf of Nigeria. Right now, I don't know why this is happening. Yes, of course, I don't know why this is happening. It chose to happen on a day like this, right? I've had similar situations, but not this bad. But today's own is something else, right? And for me, I think Doc has started the conversation already. For me, repeatedly coming back here is audacity, because I just feel that, and I think that this voice needs to be heard here, right? So not giving up and keep coming back for me is audacity. Now, that aside, right? What does audacity mean to me? Now, me choosing my calling, right? That's purpose over fear, over challenges, obstacles, and all that. That's audacity for me. Now, it is
Mm,
one thing to want to do something, you just want to do anything, but it is another thing to want to do that thing which you have been called to do, right?
mm,
And most times, what we have been called to do is something a lot of people struggle to identify, struggle to find out, struggle to discover, right? So
mm,
once you discover it, a lot of people, I for one, right? Let me speak for myself. I think discovering purpose and what I was actually doing were two different
mm.
things. I've tried a lot of
Yeah,
things. I've tried a lot
yeah.
of things. When I
Mm.
finally discovered purpose, when I finally discovered what I have been called to do, Christine, you know now, like
Yes,
getting into it, right?
yes,
Now
yes.
switching. First of all, the thought of, okay, what will people say? You start this and stop. You're here. Is as if you're everywhere. And all of a sudden, this is you coming to say, this is what you have been called to do. And you have decided to do this which you have called to do. No be small audacity, oh. Because
Hmm.
you have to do away with what anyone cares about, right? What anyone thinks, what anyone says, and just focus and pursue the goal. So for me, that is audacity. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Peace. Now, I wanted you at the beginning to tell us a little bit about, yourself. And I think this is a good time to tell us. You mentioned the word purpose, and I'm really interested because somebody may be wondering, how can she be talking about purpose in politics? Politics is such a dirty game. What kind of purpose care? Who they gets purpose for
Okay.
politics? I beg shifts. So I want you to tell us. How did you know? Why? How? Politics? Like what is that about? How is your purpose tied into politics? Let me behave like I don't know anything about purpose and how you got here. Can you tell us more?
Okay. So from the beginning, I talked about trying so many things, putting my hands on so many things, right? And at some point, I was like, God, what am I really? What have you called me to do? Right? I've tried this. I've tried.
It's okay. We're not giving up. We're waiting with
Yep.
bated breath.
Yep. Oof. It's probably gonna she's probably gonna need to rejoin, but let's see.
Well, while we're waiting on the network there, she made a comment that I want to pick up on, the thing about purpose. And I do
Mhm.
think, this is something that we talk about on this platform. We and I know that you and I spend a lot of time thinking about purpose and thinking about what
You're
is
losing
our
me again,
purpose.
right? I don't know if you can hear
Come.
me.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead if you can hear us. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Yeah, I think we are back. Okay. So as I was saying, right, I've tried a lot of things, and when I discovered purpose, I discovered that all those things I had tried earlier were not coincidence. They had a link to what my purpose is. And probably anyone listening to me now, watching me now, might wonder, okay, what actually is my purpose?
Do you know if would it be possible for I don't know if it's possible on her end to mute the video, if that changes, the network engagement. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, when she comes back up,
yes, but
we
again, we
would
were talking
see.
about purpose and finding one's
Yes.
purpose. I think
Mm-hmm.
it is a challenging thing. I don't know that, for some people, they can wake up one day and just know. For many of us, it's not a thing that you even know. It's not even a thing necessarily that you find. Many times it finds you after you've
Mm,
done searching, after you have,
mm,
after you have taken turns that have not been the correct turn, or maybe have not been the most correct turn for you, right? This idea of purpose. And I think that it's important to say this because some people encounter folks who appear to have found their purpose, and maybe even they
mm,
have found their purpose. And let me speak for myself. Okay. In fact, let me use you as an example. When I look at you, I say, boy, look at where you are in life. It seems to me you have found your purpose, or at the very
mhm,
least, you have found your purpose right now. And I'm still
mhm,
out here wondering, what am I doing now? If I was to try to be like, why have I not found my purpose when you have found your purpose?
mm,
That's that's not, it's an improper comparison, because
mhm,
it's like, because then I'm trying to almost rationalize that, well, we must have started at a similar place, and so if we're going similar paces, why have I not arrived at a place that you've arrived? The reality, in
mm,
my opinion, in my perspective about purpose, again, we can seek it and seek it and seek it. Some people never seek and it finds them, but ultimately I do think that this notion of purpose, for any of us, it finds us. Sometimes we may find the thing that is looking for us and it's a perfect match, but I have seen in the case for many people, their purpose isn't even necessarily what they set out to do. I think Peace was describing a little bit of that. I don't know her story. And I don't know if she
mhm,
set out from, from primary or even in secondary school to decide that, oh, this is what she was going to do. But from what she was saying, what she was starting to say, it seemed like she had done some other things. She had tried some other things. And eventually, this was found. Some of it, I
mm,
imagine, she looked for to find, but
mhm.
some of it seems like it has found her, because I don't know that
Yeah,
there are many people doing what she does in that context,
yeah,
in Jos, in Plateau,
yeah,
where she
yeah,
is. And so that's
yeah.
truly, for me, from where I sit, when you ask the question of audacity, it's almost like the audacity of her to answer that call, right?
Hmm,
If she's out there looking for something, trying to find purpose. Meanwhile, in Plateau State, Nigeria, there's a purpose out there trying to find a young woman to amplify the voices of women in politics. And that
hmm,
purpose found her to do these
hmm.
things together. To me,
Yeah,
that's very powerful, right?
that's
There are many
powerful.
of us, I think, right there in the Nigerian context right now, who are wondering, what is our purpose? How do we find
Hmm,
purpose in Nigeria? If I'm stuck in Nigeria, how do I do anything with that? Me,
hmm,
myself, my own, I have felt stuck in the US when I want to be doing something in Nigeria and been trying to
hmm,
figure out, how do I do that? And then
hmm,
I connected with you to be doing this. It's been very rewarding for me for the past 3 weeks to feel like every week I'm in Nigeria.
hmm. Yeah.
And that is me finding a way to realize what I believe is my purpose. Now, I think that the true meeting of my purpose, I have not yet realized, but I have believed for a long time that part of my purpose is to do work in Nigeria. How exactly, I don't know, right? But that has led me here, and that other part of the purpose, I think, is coming, and they will meet
Hmm.
somewhere.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that the conversation of purpose is a very, very deep conversation, right?
Mm,
Because um purpose, like you said, purpose finds you. I also think that you never get to a point where you feel this is all there is to my purpose. I don't know if that makes sense.
yes,
I
purpose fulfilled.
personally think that purpose is a journey, right?
Mhm.
And you just keep going on that journey. I believe that purpose evolves. I believe that you have one true purpose that you amplify through different things, right? Really, because if your purpose was only one thing, right, then I wouldn't be a multi potentialite. I believe that through Audacity for Breakfast, through the Money Mechanic, through my businesses, through my interactions, through my current, job, I am somehow amplifying my purpose through all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that, purpose is something that finds you. And I also agree. She was trying to explain something before she went off about how she had to try different things, right? She had to try different things before she even arrived at where she currently is. And I really, really encourage that to anyone who's watching, who's listening, right? That it is totally okay to explore all of your passions. I strongly believe that we've talked about this. I think this was in the first episode where we talked about the fact that we strongly believe that every person has a multi-side to them, right? It's just that we have been taught to remain in a certain box. And so in that box, you are not allowed to pursue other passions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we never really explore all of the sides of our lives. But I believe that, okay, she's back. She's
Excellent.
back. Let me just add her to the stage. I believe that exploring all of those different sides is a core part of finding your purpose. It even makes your purpose more viable because you can speak to your purpose from different angles, from different life experiences. I always say that I'm so glad that I pushed myself to try all of those business ideas, even the ones that failed. I'm glad I did them because I'm able to speak with small business owners from a place of experience. So I can quickly look at a business idea and tell you if it's viable or not. I can ask the right questions. I know what it means like to start a business and to fail, right? Because I have started businesses and I have failed. I know what it means to transit from a business to another one and at what point transition is important. So I would not be able to speak to entrepreneurs from a real and vulnerable place if I had not allowed myself to explore all of those things and to try my hands at different things. And I think that that is critical. If anyone here is trying to find your purpose, allow purpose find you. But purpose will only find you when you are actually on the journey. So if you're not on the journey to find purpose, purpose will not find you. The universe will not work things out for purpose to find you. It's in your quest to find it that you find purpose or purpose finds you.
If there's something I can add, both you and Peace and myself have shared that in our journeys to get to where we are right now, we all had to fall down. We all had to experience some failure
Yeah.
and get back up and persevere. And I think that that's the thing that, people, I hope that people out there who are seeing us or listening to us aren't thinking that any of us have done or are in the spaces that we are right now because things are easy or that these things came easily to us. No, we had to fall down many times. We had to fail many times to find our purpose. Even now, any of us who feel like we are sitting in our purpose, don't think that we're sitting here comfortably. Realize that as much as we're sitting here, all of us thumping our chests at like, yes, I feel at this moment I'm living in my purpose. We also still have questions. We also
Mm-hmm.
are still trying to realize that purpose. What does that truly mean? What does that truly look like? What is the next stage in the evolution of that purpose? Right. So these things that we talk about and these things that we share as our experiences, I think it's important that folks hear them out there as, we're talking about either points in our journey or the current point that we are on or that we are in on our ongoing journey. We are not finished and we have not finished. The work
Mm-hmm.
is continuing and it
Mm-hmm.
continues. And I think that that is important. Sharing these stories, this is all part of our purpose. Like, I think each of
Mm-hmm.
us showing up right here on this platform is again another way of manifesting or realizing our purpose. If it was just for us, we would take the things that we know, the things that we do, and go sit in a room with them with no light. We don't need other people. But it's not for us to just go and attain and to keep inside. A very big, I think, part of our purpose at the core for the three of us, especially as we're sharing, and frankly, for all the folks who get invited and who accept the invitation to come to this platform, so much of our purpose isn't just the going out there and getting or attaining. A big part of, I think, our purpose is sharing, right? It's
Yeah.
that we're not keeping the secrets for ourselves. When we find
Yeah.
good stuff, we want other people to know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not satisfying if we're the only one eating. Other people need to eat
Yeah.
too.
Of course. Of course. There's something that I can't remember which of my friends used to always say this, but I'll say it in pidgin and then I'll explain. He'll say, no be one car, they form convoy. And
Mm,
essentially what he's saying is that another thing another of my friends Odinaka would say is we blow by association, right? Essentially what they're trying to say is, when you want to drive a convoy, it is not one car that makes a convoy,
mm-hmm,
it is multiple cars.
mm-hmm.
So you really cannot attempt to do this
Uh-oh, Christine, I feel like maybe we've now lost your network a little bit.
you cannot
Oh,
It is when you are in the right environment, with like-minded people, that the convoy is complete. And I just
mhm.
wanted to add that to what you were saying. And I think that essentially what we're just showing here tonight is we're not doing this alone. Really, we're in the right company and we're trying to figure this thing out together. And the more we share our stories, we learn from our stories, we learn from each other. Okay, Peace is back. Let's add her to the stage. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, please, this network. Okay, you know what? We're
I've turned
suggesting that
round my house.
your house. Okay,
I
we're
can't count the
suggesting
number
that
of times I've gone round the house.
Can you mute
we
the
were
camera?
saying that do you want to turn off your video for a bit? Maybe it's going to preserve the bandwidth and then we listen to your voice. Do you want to try that? I can't turn off her
It seems maybe
video.
we have lost her again.
Yeah, it seems we have lost her again.
This experience, I think this has been a good experience, if for no other reason, to capture and to showcase and to share with the world the challenges that exist when we're trying to build bridges, right? Again,
Yeah.
another part of this entire experience between you and me and what we're trying to do here is to build bridges, to build a bridge, but to build bridges between contexts, between experiences, between different parts of the world, between
Mm-hmm.
Nigerians in Nigeria and the diaspora, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things. And if we thought it was going to be easy, we
Hmm.
were kidding ourselves. Now, I don't think that either of us thought that by any measure it was going to be easy. I don't think that by any measure we have imagined that any of this would be easy. Um, and we have continued to show up because it's important. And
Hmm.
that's the part that I think is more critical than the challenges, right? It's important that it is challenging. All the things that any of us are doing are challenging. All the things that any of us are trying to do are challenging. And we show up every day to do them because they are important. That part I think is important, that that we keep doing, that we keep modeling, that also, that we keep showcasing to people that just because you had a day long with your team doesn't mean you don't show up and do this. You show up and do it. Just because there's no NEPA doesn't mean you don't show up and do it. You show up and do it. Just because MTN or whoever the network is being a challenge doesn't mean you just okay, no, you show up and you do it. You put in because the work is worthwhile. Every bit
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah. I I was speaking with my mom last week, right? I think after our second episode of Audacity for Breakfast, and we're just talking about how difficult it is to show up as a Nigerian from Nigeria. Um, it's not the easiest, right? It's not the easiest, and you know I try to avoid the blame game, I don't want to start talking about how the government has failed us and a whole lot of other things. But it's for anyone who's watching, right? I I understand what it means to show up as a Nigerian every day. It's not the easiest, and these are the challenges that we face on a daily trying to show up. And I think that for me, it's really about look, we're trying to make a better life for ourselves. We can't allow the circumstances around us to discourage us from showing up, because the truth is we could have just ended this live stream at the very beginning when we started noticing the network and just say, you know what, we're going to reschedule this to another time, right? But we're here because we understand the value of showing up. By just already making a post about this, we have made a commitment. Peace, your back. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Okay. So she's turned off her video.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Please,
can
can you
hear
hear
you.
us? Okay,
Yes.
great. So
Mhm.
can we try
So
without
it's
video
going to
and
be better. Yeah.
yes, okay, all right. So please,
Yeah.
the floor
Yeah.
is actually totally yours. Can you were talking to us about purpose. Can you dial back and let's continue the conversation?
Okay, so again, I apologize for this
Please
network
don't
on behalf of my
apologize.
country, Nigeria.
It is not your
I am
fault. Just go ahead.
apologizing. Oh God. Okay, so talking about purpose, right?
Mhm.
Yes, that's right. Did we lose you again?
I'm hoping not.
Hmm.
Peace,
I
go
don't know
ahead.
if you can still hear me.
Yes, Peace, we
We
can hear
can hear
you.
you. Yes.
What is happening to this thing?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know if she can see the live chat that we can hear her. If you can message her on WhatsApp, but like, yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
that's
you,
what I'm.
Peace.
I think her network has actually gone off because WhatsApp message is not even delivering. Okay, so I was just talking about how difficult it can be to show up as a Nigerian from Nigeria. The odds are stacked against you in many ways, right? Um, every time that we have to come live for Dusty for breakfast, I have probably two or three different networks on standby every time. And I'm just ready to switch networks if one isn't working, right? And that's just it can be a lot mentally because you're just on the edge, right? You're just on the edge. I've heard young people complain incessantly about how hard it is to get remote jobs because of the bad experiences we have, and how even remote jobs are refusing to give Nigerians roles because of network issues, of light issues. I was speaking with a friend who was applying for a remote job and had gotten to the almost the final interview stage, after going through all of the rigors of tests and aptitude tests and all of that, got into the final interview. And on the day of his interview, his network was not working. Mind you, he was using a 5G network.
Hmm.
This guy literally sat beside his router. He could not connect to the meeting. And we all know how you guys over there are very time conscious, right?
Mhm.
And he was trying his best. He had to get out the cord. What's the name of that cord now? The one
Yeah,
that
the
you
Ethernet
can
code.
exactly. He tried
Uh-huh.
to put the call. He literally could not leave the call because he could not leave the call. He was literally running to every corner of his house trying to find network so he wouldn't miss the call. And I'm just like, this is just the interview stage. Do you understand? Right? This is just the interview stage. What is going to happen if he gets the role? Right? I Oof. Anyways, we have a couple of comments. Charity has been following the conversation and she just said something. She says, I will say that purpose is not stumbled on easily. You discover it, develop it, and live it out every day.
100%.
So then, did you have something to say to this?
No, 100%. I agree that yes, it's not stumbled on easily, and you do discover and develop it, and indeed live it out every day. So much of our story and how we got here is this idea of it's not stumbled on, and you develop it. We started off earlier. You were talking about you sitting outside of a polling station and sleeping there overnight, and I commented on how I remember you. I remember watching the video of you doing that, right? And that was now a few years ago at this point. And I watched the evening, I watched the next day as you posted live videos, and like that, just that connection, that realization of somebody living purpose was quite remarkable. Peace, you are back.
Peace, over to you.
I'm back. Okay, so
Okay.
just to dive straight in, right? Talking about purpose, I think for me, purpose is what I've been created to do. Now, a very someone that upholds my faith like so strongly and all that. So I believe that when I was created, there was a reason why God created me. There was a reason why He put me in the earth, right? And later on in my journey in life, I discovered that through some of the gifts God has given me, right? I discovered that I think speaking for me, talking is purpose. Now teaching, right? Having to fix things, like the ability to see that something is wrong. And now is one thing to identify that something is wrong, and then is another thing to not just identify, but to be able to do something around it, right? To come up with a solution around it. And I've seen myself do this in different ways. And one of the major places like it keeps drawing me towards is leadership. Leadership. And of course, you made mention of politics, people referring to politics as something that is dirty, right? I don't see it that way, right? I see politics as a tool for leadership. Now, the way Nigeria is, or the way the world is, right? Oh my God, again. Okay, we're back. Okay, so the way the world is, and the way our leadership system, I love to say leadership system because of how politics has been more of people view it as something that is not good, on using the negative lens, right, to look at it. And the way it has been is most of the aspect of my life, most of the things that affect me as a human being, affect myself, affect you as a human being. Most of the decisions that affect us are being decided by people in position of leadership. And unfortunately or fortunately, right, people in government, like people who are responsible to ensure that there's good governance, right? They oversee the affairs of the country and all that. And whether you like it or not, whether you are in politics, you're not in politics, these people who are in politics, some of us who are in politics, determine a lot of things that happen to you. Just the way I'm struggling with network, someone who is not in politics might be experiencing the same thing I am doing. This is a leadership problem, right? It's something that needs to be fixed, right? So for me is to fix a problem, and the only way, and for me the easiest way to fix this problem, right, is to be on the decision making table, to be where these decisions are being made, right? I hate to be on my own and then decisions are made for me and without me. It's not possible. Then let's not even leave the fact that let's not forget the fact that now we're not just talking about
I think we're losing her. But let's see. She was spitting. I don't know if you were listening to some of the things she was saying.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yes.
Yes, she was making a whole lot of sense. And there are a couple of things that struck me. The first thing that leadership. So she's back. Great. I think the network is. Go
I'm
ahead.
back.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
So the easiest way to fix most of the things I do now, for I love to say that before people got to know my name, right, I was already leading. Now, before a lot of people could say, okay, Peace is into politics and all that, I was already leading in my own little sphere. I was already solving little problems and all that, right? But the problem is, if I'm solving these problems, of course, let's think about sustainability. Let's think about someday Peace is not going to be here. What happens if Peace is not here? Does that mean that the problems will continue, or we wouldn't have anybody to solve that problem? So thinking sustainability, thinking long term, thinking a permanent solution to some of the problems is to ensure that now we solve the problem on a larger scale, to attack it from the roots. And then how can we do that? Why don't we have, since we say politics is dirty, why don't we have the good people come and clean up the politics? Because of course, as I said, it's just a tool. Now the people who engage in the game, the people who participate in politics, are the ones that we are either to say are dirty,
Okay, so I think she's gone off again. We'll just wait for her to rejoin. Um, but while she rejoins, I'm saying I think that she's pointed out something very important, that I think not many of us have looked at politics from the lens of that perspective, right? Um, I believe that what we have as a problem in Nigeria is a leadership problem. And I want to think you agree with me. We have a leadership problem in Nigeria, right? Um, and I think that what she has pointed out fully is agreeing with the fact that the problem is a leadership problem. And if leadership issues are fixed, if people are taught and groomed to be better leaders, would have a better Nigeria. But also, she has also made a point about how politics is simply a tool. And when she said that, I'm like, you know what? I tend to agree with her because I teach about money. And you see, money is seen this almost the same way as politics. People think money is the root of all evil. People think that rich people have done bad things to get the money that they have. A lot of people have a very, very tainted, perspective about what money is. And
Yeah.
anytime I teach about that, I talk about the fact that money is simply money. Money is simply paper. Money is simply a tool. It is the person wielding the money that determines whether money is used for good or bad. And I think that we can actually take that approach with politics from what Peace has said. The fact that politics in itself is simply just a tool. It's a tool. But the issue now is that right now, the people wielding that tool are not wielding it the right way, if I may put it that way, right? But it means, therefore, that if the right people are wielding the same tool, we could have a better Nigeria. And so I think right now, what our focus should be on, even as we groom the next generation, is building character, integrity, right, in the next generation, because they are the ones who will wield the power. So at this point, it seems it's a case of hit the player, not the game, most likely. I don't know what you'd have to say about that.
I would agree. Hate the player, not the game. The question or the issue before me sometimes becomes a question of defining the game, right? So
Yeah.
we talk a lot about leadership. And that for me, leadership and power, and I love that we've talked about both of those in the context of this conversation. Frankly, leadership, power, and politics. Okay, because one of the things I wanted to come into this conversation at first to say is that I'm not interested in politics. I don't get politically involved. That said, I politic all the time. So there's a separation between, politics and politicking. And that's a thing,
Yeah.
I think an important distinction, but peace, keep going.
Peace, over to you. If you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead. You were talking about politics being just a tool.
Yes, of course. So politics is just a tool, right? It's
Mm.
as someone I respect and someone who is a member of the Nigerian
Whew. Today has been a lesson in perseverance.
It has, and I think it's
Yeah.
it's just one of those challenges that, like, I think our viewers will be very gracious and appreciate that we are bringing this to you through the challenges, despite the challenges, in spite of the
Yeah.
challenges, and despite all of that, we're gonna keep doing it. Peace. I think you're there. I think
Yes,
I
she's
heard you.
here. I don't just know if she can hear us.
Maybe
Okay.
not. I'm seeing that we are at an hour and a minute right now.
And
Um,
19 minutes.
yes.
Yeah, so I don't know what you think our next step should be. I don't think this conversation is over. I think there's a lot Peace has to say. And I don't know if we should have a part two of this conversation, Senenge. What do you think the way forward would be? Funny enough, our viewers are still here. We still have viewers watching. So now, do we do a part two? Because she started the conversation. It's not just
Mhm.
fluent right now. So what do you think we do? Because we don't also want to make this an incredibly long
Yes,
conversation.
I think we'll need to do a follow-up. I think we'll need to do a part two where we hope to have a more solid connection next week, and a part two where we hope to be able to afford Peace a more stable platform for her to share her
Yeah.
message, because I do think it's a very important message, and I think it's a very important message about purpose, about leadership, and about engagement. So complete engagement to build a society.
Okay. Peace, can you hear us?
So I'd like to propose, if I could
Mm-hmm.
propose, instead of continuing to kind of fight with the network right now, let's do this. Since we are at an hour of our live cast, which is our typical, for our audience, let's invite them to join us next week at 8 p.m., where we will
Mm-hmm.
pick up the conversation with Peace.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for everybody else who we have engaged to join us on this conversation, many of our other guests are flexible. And so anybody who we had scheduled for next week, we can move them forward to invite to
Mm-hmm.
get to invite Peace back, to share with us a little bit more about what she's doing. Because I do think it's an important message, and I'd really like to be able to conclude this conversation before we move forward into too much more.
Okay. So what we will do is we will circle back on this conversation on next week's edition, right? We've started the conversation. I already have questions for her from the little she said already. I want to believe that our commentary in between has also made a wholesome conversation tonight. So what will happen is we will circle back. Would like to apologize to everyone who joined us tonight. You didn't get the best of our guest, but I'm sure you saw how hard she was trying to rejoin over and over. Okay, so we have someone who says, yes, please, we will like to have a part two. Thank you so much. Okay, someone is saying again, we need it. So we have the people have spoken, democracy. We go with the people.
Yes, and and again, for people who are, and I appreciate too that one, people are stuck with us, that
Yeah.
you're engaged in the conversation, and that we are recognizing, you keep hearing us apologize, and we are going to work on that because it's not our apology to offer you. These issues that you're seeing are not, we are not causing these issues. These
Yes.
are products of a faulty and problematic system. I
Yep.
think it's important that we amplify that in all of the spaces. How many of us who have uncles who are associated with, I don't know, NCC, the Communications Commission, or NEPA, or whoever else it is? We need to be in those people's ears, telling them that,
Mhm.
Omo, we're trying to connect with our people outside, and because of our internal network, we're
You
not
know
able to
they
do that.
work.
And if that's the
Yeah.
case, if we can't have just common conversations, then how can we engage in commerce? How can we do business? If truly we are investing in the future of Nigeria, how are we doing that?
Hmm. Please,
How
can
are
you
we
hear
doing
us?
that?
She's
This
back,
is
but I don't know if
deep.
you can.
This
Okay,
is,
so
and this, what he has just said. Yes, what he has just said, right, should be I think it should be a legislative bill on its own
hmm.
against these people. Like, it's a conversation we're supposed to be having, right? But we are not having it. For me, I think probably maybe today's session is talking about that I haven't been talking about. Yes. So though I think that it didn't go the way it was supposed to go, but I think it has birthed something, right? I know that communications has been something that I have not really my advocacy did not go that something that now experiencing it firsthand is something that I know that I have to also add my voice to and talk about, right?
All right. So,
So,
Peace, I don't know if you heard us before you came back on, but can you hear me? Please confirm you can
Yeah, I
hear
can
me.
hear you. I can hear you.
So,
I can hear you.
we have people who have been waiting to hear from you, and I will put on the screen a couple of things. People are saying would like to have a part two. People are saying we want a continuous session. We're saying we're waiting for next week's episode. So what we've decided to do is, because we don't want this to exceed an hour, right? So we don't tire people out. We're bringing you for part two. So please, can we circle back to this conversation next week, Thursday? Will it be convenient for you? I hope our network has not
well,
kicked
here,
her.
let's do this. Let's do this, Christine. Let's just do this. We're going to charge you with connecting with Peace to try to set it up for us to engage with her in the conversation next week. In the meanwhile, to all of our listeners out there, to everybody who's engaging with us, if you haven't engaged with us on socials yet, please engage with us on socials. Connect with us on our socials, on our LinkedIn, on our Facebooks, on our Instagrams. There
Instagram.
is an Audacity for Breakfast on Instagram where we're starting to now share videos. What we're inviting our listeners, our participants, is to share your own videos in that space. We're looking for stories of audacity. Where do you see audacity in the world? Where do you see audacity in your world? Where and how are you audacious? We are starting a communication or a community of audacious folks online living audaciously. Show us what that looks like. What does that look like in your part of the world? Today, we brought you a little bit of that. We're bringing you Audacity with Light, brought to you by NEPA. We're bringing you Audacity in, where's this place I am? Open Book, which is a shared networking place where we're bringing you Audacity through the trials of MTN and other networks that are challenging our tenacity, and yet we persevere. We are doing all of this. What about you? Where are you living audacity, audaciously? What does audacity look like in your life? Show us, showcase some of that. Come online and see a little bit of the interesting things that we're trying to find more spaces to share. And these conversations, lift them up, raise them up, bring up the questions, the difficult questions to those people who have influence to say, hey, when you are talking to people outside, how do you do it? If they are okay with our poor networks, why is that okay? When we
Hmm.
talk about the future, which future are we talking about? Because since the time any of us were small people, small children, they were telling us that by the time we have grown, this wouldn't be the experience. And here we are
Mm,
now in 2026, and
same
this is
thing.
the experience.
Yeah.
So, what is the growth? What truly are we looking forward to, building forward to? That's the last question I will leave you with the invitation to join us next week. Christine,
All
round us
right.
out.
Guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. Honestly, just sticking with us is something we highly appreciate. We promise you that we're going to be back next week. We're not going anywhere. We're just starting. We're not going anywhere. Audacity in our Gen Z balance, Audacity, they cry. So don't worry. We are here. We're going to continue next week. Please connect with us. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram. Get ready to share your Audacity stories, and we will see you next week. Same time, same station on Audacity for breakfast. Good night.
Sisu Nichi.
See you soon, Nechi. All right. Woo!